This is empty and
Dear God.
There's more.
No.
This.
Call of Duty Mobile has had and still has a lot of weapons that remained as part of the meta for a really long time. One of these weapons being the Fennec, holding the title as the best aggressive SMG ever since its buff back in 2022. And while there have been other SMGs that have tried to take this title, none of them could quite match the Fennec's sheer consistency and effectiveness in closer ranges. So instead of nerfing the Fennec, the devs made the logical decision of adding a straight up better version of the Fennec. Gotta sell that myth, okay? Now I could easily make a video saying, the two-shot VMP is overpowered and this is the best class, woohoo! But I think I can make a much more interesting video than that, since the VMP is the new king of CQC. Here's why. Starting with the stat that everyone cares about the most, the time to kill. The VMP features an absurdly fast close-range time to kill of 186 milliseconds up to 13 meters. While the Fennec does have the potential to kill faster, this is very inconsistent since it requires you to hit multiple chest shots, so it will usually be killing quite a bit slower. The VMP on the other hand achieves this time to kill very consistently, and actually makes it one of the very few fully automatic SMGs that can achieve a consistent time to kill of below 200 milliseconds. This combined with its extremely fast fire rate means that this is a very realistic time to kill, since missed shots aren't very punishing. And for what's supposed to be a close quarters weapon, the VMP's range is not bad either, having the potential to achieve a time to kill of 248 milliseconds up to 32.5 meters if you can hit at least 2 lower arm shots, which is not unreasonable to achieve. For reference, this is longer than the 4-tab range of the XM4 and the Type 19, so on top of having a top tier close range time to kill, the VMP can still hold its own at mid-range, giving it a significant advantage over the Fennec, which starts to drop off quite hard even beyond its initial range. And since we're on the topic of range, the VMP also has several advantages that allow it to make use of this impressive damage range. For starters, its recoil is much lower than you'd expect for a close range SMG. Now, it's not exactly a low recoil weapon, it's more like moderate recoil, which can lead to some YouTubers calling it bad, but for the rest of the population, you should have no problem in taking gunfights within 30 meters. Obviously, you're not going to be cross-mapping like an assault rifle since it doesn't have the best bullet spread accuracy, but are you seriously expecting an SMG meant for close range to take long-range fights? One of the biggest drawbacks of the Fennec is that it has very high hit flinch, which makes challenging at mid-range much harder, as the moment you get shot, your aim combined with the high vertical recoil will be sent to the moon. Ah yes, I love it when my guns have a built-in space program. As for the VMP, well, it has nearly half the hit flinch, so you won't be facing nearly as many issues at mid-range. This combined with its surprisingly good range and recoil means that it is much more versatile than the Fennec. When it comes to mobility, the VMP is fairly competitive, featuring a sprint speed that is in line with other upper tier SMGs. Now admittedly, its strafe speed is pretty slow for an SMG with my recommended build, but you can mitigate this with the Skulker perk, which will give you a pretty decent strafe speed. The VMP also has a phenomenal ADS time of 164 milliseconds, which when combined with its top tier time to kill, means that it has one of the fastest skirmish time to kills in the game. Now, skirmish time to kill is a very underrated but important stat for aggressive SMGs, since you'll usually be running around the map and won't be pre-aimed as often, so having the combination of a fast time to kill and reaction time is crucial. The fast ADS time also compensates for the wider than average hipfire spread, which is realistically speaking the only actual downside of the gun. The VMP's mag size is identical to the Fennec's at 40. The Fennec does reload a bit faster, but since the VMP requires less shots to kill, it ends up having the ability to take on more enemies in one mag, so you don't have to reload as often. It is also worth mentioning that the base iron sights of the VMP are much cleaner than the Fennec, so it is a friendlier option for free-to-plays. So looking at all of its stats, the best way to describe the VMP would be:
anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
compared to the Fennec, the VMP has faster consistent time to kill, much better range, way less recoil, half the hit flinch, faster handling, and cleaner iron sights. The only real upsides that the Fennec has are better potential time to kill, which requires chest shots so it's not very consistent, and tighter hipfire spread. So what's the point in using the Fennec over the VMP? That was a rhetorical question, by the way, do not answer that. Another point worth mentioning is that most aggressive SMGs, including the Fennec, are limited to strictly close quarters, due to a variety of factors which makes taking gunfights outside of close range completely out of the question and can sometimes lead to forcing your team into a 4v5. The VMP has no such problem, as not only is it phenomenal up close, but it can even fight back at mid-range and pretty effectively at that too. This makes the VMP a much more versatile option, a very useful trait especially in ranked, where it's pretty much every man for himself. When it comes to building the VMP, we actually have several ways to build it. The build that I've been using for the comparisons in this video aims to make the weapon more versatile without severely penalizing its close range performance. Start with the rapid fire perk. This attachment is basically mandatory as it's effectively a free boost to your time to kill. Heavy barrel for range, recoil reduction, bullet speed and concealment, Phoenix grip for improved ADS time and hit flinch, heavy handle for the massive reduction in recoil, and the removed pad for faster sprint speed. Alternatively, you can swap out the stock for the fast extended mag if you want a larger mag size. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this since I find the sprint speed to be a little too slow without the stock, and I can work with 40 rounds just fine. If you want to build it as a normal aggressive SMG, aka you want to play like a Fennec, replace the heavy handle with the VX Pineapple Grip Lightweight. With this build you get much more mobility, especially if you pair it with the remove pad, which gives you an incredibly fast sprint speed, although this comes at the cost of having quite a bit more recoil. The last build you'll find to be very unconventional. Rapid fire for faster time to kill, Phoenix suppressor for concealment, strike grip, removed pad, and lightweight grip set for maximum sprint speed. Now let's just get one thing out of the way here, you are not using this build for getting kills. Instead, this is meant to be used in an overkill loadout as your secondary, because this build for the VMP actually has the fastest sprint speed in the entire game. Yes, even faster than melee weapons. So you can get around the map very quickly while still having a decent secondary. Think of this as a beefed up version of the machine pistol. And that pretty much wraps up everything there is to know about the VMP. If it wasn't already clear by this point, the VMP is easily the best aggressive SMG in standard multiplayer, as not only does it have the top tier close range performance, but also just enough versatility to keep up with guns such as the USS-9. While yes, the USS-9 still has the absurd mid to long range capabilities which frankly shouldn't be on an SMG, the VMP is much more suitable for the more aggressive players who still want a bit of flexibility. But that's just my experience from using the weapon, so what do you guys think about the VMP? Do you think it's overpowered, underpowered, God forbid if you do, or just fine the way it is? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you found the video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm so close to reaching 1k subscribers, which is actually kinda crazy considering that this is only my 5th video. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.